Hey folks, Bobbert here. I don't usually do reviews, but I decided to give it a shot for us. And as you can see, I'm doing it in a format that I've never tried before.
Kids, you tried your best, and you failed miserably. The lesson is, never try.
Hopefully you dig it. This is going to be spoiler free because I won't be revealing specific details and we'll be keeping everything pretty vague. But there will be some discussion on influences and techniques that might be viewed as spoilerific. Once I start venturing into that territory, I'll be sure to give you fair warning.
Be careful.
Us is the new film from Jordan Peele, the chubbier, funny guy from the comedy duo Key and Peele. There might be a universe out there where that's all he's known for, but after writing and directing Get Out in 2017, when the name Jordan Peele comes up, it's more likely to talk about horror-related stuff than his comedic roots.
Oh. Hey there, Forrest. Goo goo gaga. I want milk.
I'm not really into plot summaries, but I'll give y'all just a little bit. The movie revolves around a family on vacation in Santa Cruz. Everything's hunky-dory until another family shows up to terrorize them one night. Craziest thing about this other family is that it's them, or us? Well, you know what I mean. They're evil twins, doubles, or doppelgangers as it's being commonly referred to as now.
What are you people? It's us.
I just want to mention this from the outset because I don't want it to get lost when I start enthusiastically ranting effusively about the film's writing and direction, but the performances in Us are across the board phenomenal. Tim Heidecker, yes, the Tim from Tim and Eric,
I'd like to have a barbecue.
and Elizabeth Moss show up in smaller but memorable roles. Delightfully oblivious in the way that well-meaning but ultimately self-centered white privileged upper middle class folks can be sometimes. Winston Duke is so affably funny with his corny dad role, pulling off some perfect comic timing, especially when tasked with asserting his expected role as dominant male tough guy.
If you want to get crazy, we can get crazy.
It's a surprising turn from his gruff and stoic part in Black Panther, and feels like the sort of showcase of talent that turns somebody from a, hey, I like that guy from that one thing, to a genuine star. The kid actors are good, with Shahadi Wright Joseph as Zora being a real standout. But the true revelatory performance here belongs to Lupita Nyong'o. It's absolutely stunning. The initial novelty of hearing her speak in a perfect American accent soon falls away as the realization of how real and raw she is in the role takes root. And while all the actors pull a double shift playing their shadowy selves, or the tethered as they're referred to by Peele before the film's release, it's Nyong'o's double duty that blew me away. The transformation from one character to the other in terms of voice, movements, and demeanor is utterly transcendent. If the Oscars paid any respect to horror flicks, this performance would easily be a contender for the Best Actress award next year.
There's a family in our driveway.
It's probably the neighbors. But y'all scared of a family? Can I help you? Zora, put your shoes on.
When the Us trailer was released, Peele said he was looking at Amblin films of old as inspiration for the family-driven plot he ultimately utilized. Well, it turns out Peele's made his own Poltergeist, a story of a regular family contending with extraordinary forces, but in this case, it's a black family at the center of it all, something rarely seen in horror movies. That inclusion of an oft-neglected demographic is not the only reason why the movie excels and exceeds all expectations. It's just a damn good horror flick all on its own. After only 2 films, I think it's clear that Jordan Peele should join the ranks of George Romero, John Carpenter, and Wes Craven as a bona fide master of horror. Not only because he can so effectively compose an air of existential dread in his work, but like those other masters, knows how to use and inject humor to amplify the horror. One might even argue Peele has perfected the integration of both elements, as once again he's constructed a very funny film around the psychological and physical manifestations of terror that Us so exemplifies. And let's not forget how just plain weird the flick is, because it's very, very weird. Not only in terms of the circumstances our heroes find themselves in, but also the various characters, locations, and moments that inhabit the film.
They look exactly like us.
In his sophomore effort, Peele Peele borrows a move from M. Night Shyamalan. His second film is a showcase of directorial vision. Like Unbreakable, Us is filled with ambitious and stylish filmmaking. There are long but purposeful shots, elaborate blocking of frames, and intricate cutting that untethers the story. The opening of the film with a meticulously slow zoom, reminiscent of something out of a Stanley Kubrick film, is an announcement by Peele. I'm in total control now, and I'ma do what I want. The film does settle down after that, but escalates as it progresses, finally reaching a visual and thematic crescendo that blows up everything, not only in terms of plot and character, but of the film's entire motif. It's unbridled filmmaking by a filmmaker supremely confident in his skills and craft. The runaway success of Get Out has given him the leeway to do what he wants, and he does not hold back with Us. I was worried at first that the Jordan Peele backlash was imminent, especially with a film of this scale and ambition. Looks like the haters will have to wait for affirmation in the next one, because critics and audiences love Peele's new film.
That's a classic right there.
Much has already been said about the diegetic use of music in his flick, so I won't get into it too much here, but I will join the chorus in saying that Peele's brilliant use of some songs to ratchet up the tension of a scene or to counterpoint the violence on screen is soundtrack dissonance at its finest. We got only a tiny taste of that in Get Out, but here Peele uses it in key scenes where it leaves a lasting impression. Speaking of which, the tethered remix of I Got 5 on it, its use in the Us teaser trailer was such a resounding success that they released it as a standalone piece for all to listen to. And not enough has been said about Michael Abel's score for the flick. The composer, who contributed the haunting theme and music for Peele's last film, Get Out, returned for Us, and once again provides a theme that's terrifyingly memorable. Okay, here's where things might start sounding a bit on the spoilery side. If you haven't seen the flick and want to go in completely blind, go ahead and switch off. It'd be swell if you maybe came back later once you've seen the flick to finish up the video and see if you agree with me or have other thoughts. Okay, you've been warned. Now the rest of you that have stuck around, let's get into it. Perhaps it's just me, but I could see the influence of Romero's original zombie trilogy on Peele's film. When the action starts, it feels like Night of the Living Dead, with the family holed up in their home under siege. Then, it transitions to Dawn of the Dead as the family ventures out and sees that what's happening isn't isolated to just them. And then it all eventually ends up in an underground laboratory like in Day of the Dead, where the true enemy is revealed. There's a slow burn to it all that evokes the 70s style of horror. It begins intimately, and for a time, the audience believes the entirety of the film's main action will take place in our protagonist's home. But once things get moving, it very quickly expands beyond that, the scope of which I'm not sure folks have anticipated. Epically apocalyptic is not hyperbole. While Get Out was expertly executed existential horror, Us goes all out. Not just scary on a psychological level, but terrifying in all aspects. There's gonna be a lot of folks jumping out of their seats in the theater for this one, folks. And while Peele uses 1990s needle drops extensively, and yes, 90s nostalgia is all the rage right now, see Captain Marvel, it's his visual references to the 80s that are the key to understanding Us. The prominent use of the 1980s benefit event, Hands Across America, is actually a thematic metaphor that's woven into the red fabric of the entire film. Once you've grabbed your scissors, cut open that crimson jumpsuit, and examine the threads of that metaphor, I believe the core meaning of the film will become crystal clear for you. Us is already one of the most discussed films of the year, and audiences will no doubt continue to examine and probably overanalyze, if there's such a thing, the film for months to come. I'd like to say years, but we all know that the current culture can't stick with one flick for longer than a couple of months max before moving on to the next one. But as we wrap things up, let's quickly talk about that twist. Except, it's not really one of those. It's more of a reveal, as I've come to refer to them. The truth was always there from the very beginning. Looking back at the flick, there's not one cheat. It's an expertly set up reveal with an attention to detail that's mind-blowing. Peele couldn't help himself and had to get that Twilight Zone moment in there. And with the recent trailer for his reboot of the classic sci-fi and horror anthology show premiering during the Super Bowl this past February, I guess it turns out Us and Get Out before it were just Peele practicing for his Twilight Zone gig all along. Personally, I can't wait to see it. But as far as Us is concerned, if you couldn't tell by now, I loved it. It gets my highest possible recommendation, the Bobbert stamp of approval. I guess you could say I got 5 on it. If you haven't seen Us yet, what are you doing? Go see it already. But just in case you managed to stay away this past weekend, or even if you've seen it, allow me to suggest a few films that you should watch that touch upon some of the themes and ideas that Peele's film is informed by. George A. Romero's Night of the Living Dead from 1968, available to stream for Amazon Prime users. 1982's Poltergeist, directed by Tobe Hooper, supposedly, and written by Steven Spielberg, available to watch on Netflix. David Cronenberg's Dead Ringers from 1988, available to stream on Amazon Prime. Jordan Peele's directorial debut, Get Out, not currently available to stream for free, but available on many platforms to purchase and rent. Horror Noir, a documentary about the evolution of black horror cinema, exclusively available for Shudder subscribers. Jordan Peele had his own list of required viewing he wanted Lupita Nyong'o to watch before they started filming Us, so I'll include those in the description down below. Alright, thanks for watching, folks. Let me know what you think about Us and whether Jordan Peele deserves the title Master of Horror in the comments down below. Click like for more videos like this, smash that sexy subscribe button, and don't forget to ring the notification bell so you don't miss reviews like this or any other big screen theories. See you in the next one.